this morning with Yes, but I used to.
Thank you. We were waiting for our ninth member to come, and he arrives. So we now have a quorum. Until the secretary gets here to take the roll, we're going to take a couple things out of order because one of our members has to leave early, and we will make sure we take care of that particular contract, those three contracts first, and then we'll juggle the contracts around. Sorry, y'all have to sit and wait, but then again, we do too. So welcome to the NFL. Madam Secretary, we take the roll.
Senator Bailey. Representative Bricken. Here. Senator Campbell. Representative Darby. Representative Dixie. Here. Chairman Gardenhire. Representative Hicks of Rogersville. Representative Hicks of Washington. Here. Chairman Howell. Here. Representative Littleton. Senator Rose. Representative Shaw. Here. Senator Sutherland. Here. Senator Watson. Chairman Yeager. Senator Yarborough. You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We are going to juggle some things around first, but let's get rid of the statewide contracts and the agency contracts. Y'all have all had an opportunity to review those. We have Senator Bailey has come in now. Thank you. I do want to make an announcement for everybody so everybody in the audience will understand and everybody up here because we have a very long contract. I'm going to ask the member, Senator Bailey, sometimes gets off on the weeds on us sometimes, so I'm going to pick on him today. Let's keep our comments strictly to the contracts at hand and not get off on other subjects to talk about. He knew I was going to pick on him, so he's easy to pick on. He's like a punching bag. You can always get him. But anyways, the rest of the members will stay on the contracts and not get off on any other subjects. Thank you very much. Now, statewide contracts, we've had the opportunity to review those. Any comments or questions on those? Motion to approve. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Have a second. Any comments or questions? I see none. Let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nays. Ayes have it. Thank you. On the agency contracts, motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Have a second. Any comments or questions? I see none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nays. Ayes have it. Thank you. We are going to turn it over to Chairman Howe. We're going to take three contracts out of order first. Come on up. And then we'll go back to the regular presentation. As I said, we're running very thin on members. We want to make sure we get that done, what we have to get done, and then we'll come back to others as we see fit. Chairman Howe, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. We are taking some things out of order because we don't want to lose a quorum, and these have to be done today. So we are going to look at health care. And without objection, we're going to look at three contracts together, 14, 15, and 16 on your agenda. And the reason we're taking them all together, the language is identical in all of these, I believe, Mr. Seals, and the only difference would be some numbers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you like to just briefly explain what these contracts are?
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Zane Sills, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Financial Officer for the Division of TennCare. Our first three contracts today are three competitively procured managed care contracts. You're very familiar with these contracts as they form the backbone of the TennCare program. We bring these contracts before you.
We have a motion and a second. That was quick. Any questions before we ask for a vote? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Those three contracts passed. Thank you for letting us take you out of order. And now we'll recognize Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to take personal privilege of I guess maybe I need to cut that way. I won't take personal privilege of recognizing someone in the audience from the district this morning. Sure. And I certainly want to make sure I get this name right. Miss Kelso from Western Mental Health is here with us this morning. She is the Institutional Property Service Manager, and she came up this morning from the district, and I wanted to just ask the committee to help me recognize her this morning. If you just wave your hand, Miss Kelso, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Welcome. Going back to our calendar, members, item number 1 is corrections. We'll ask corrections to come forward. And without objection, corrections has a short presentation that will answer some questions that the chairman, Gardenhire, asked last month. And so we're going to let you answer his questions with that presentation. Then we'll get to the contract if that's okay. You're recognized.
Good morning, members of the committee. I'm Elizabeth Foy, the Chief of Staff for the Tennessee Department of Correction. With me today is Jillian Bresnahan, the Assistant Commissioner for Clinical Services. Thank you for providing us with the opportunity to speak this morning about inmate health care and mental health needs. The Tennessee Department of Correction has the responsibility for providing medical, mental health, dental, and vision services to people incarcerated in Tennessee prisons. All inmates are afforded access to healthcare services. Upon arrival from local county jails, inmates are provided with a health orientation. During that process, all offenders receive extensive medical, mental health, substance use, and dental screening to identify their current health status and treatment needs. Health Services offers access to medical and dental sick call, emergency care, chronic care clinics, medication management, diagnostic tests or procedures, infirmaries, inpatient hospitalization, and specialty services. The department's treatment model is a multidisciplinary approach that includes physicians, nurses, dentists, ophthalmologists, psychiatrists, and psychological examiners. The focus of today's presentation is medical and mental health care, but I wanted to take the opportunity to briefly explain the vast array of services that are provided. The department has just over 20,000 individuals in our custody. And as you can imagine, everyone comes in with different needs, backgrounds, and healthcare concerns. As most of the committee has previously heard us mention, the department is statutorily required to provide healthcare to all individuals in our custody. This is not only medical healthcare, but also mental health care as well. The department does not pick its population. Individuals come to us with needs. Many of these needs were not addressed prior to their incarceration. Often, inmates have experienced trauma, physical or mental abuse, sexual abuse, or substance abuse use prior to entering TDOC custody. In contrast to the way many individuals on the outside, including myself, neglect or postpone their healthcare needs, the department cannot and does not ignore or delay the healthcare of inmates, no matter the severity or the cost. Furthermore, the department has an aging incarcerated population. 20 years ago, around 10% of the inmate population was over the age of 50. Today, that percentage has climbed to almost 25% of our population. With an aging population, healthcare needs change and the costs often increase. Inmates cannot obtain health insurance to assist with healthcare needs. The responsibility to provide those services rests solely with the department. These range from routine visits, necessary medical equipment, chronic care, illnesses, prescriptions, specialty care, surgeries, and everything in between. The department is committed to providing a level of care that allows treatment of more offenders at the institutional level, which helps us to avoid more costly outpatient care. For a more specific overview, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Assistant Commissioner Jillian Bresnahan.
Good morning, Assistant Commissioner Jillian Bresnahan over Clinical Services. Although there are inmates at all of our sites across the state, medical care is provided at all of our prisons. Lewis M. DeBerry Special Needs Facility, located in Nashville, is the primary medical facility in Tennessee's prison system. With a maximum capacity of 854 inmates, DeBerry houses male inmates who require medical or mental health treatment on a permanent or temporary basis. The goal of DeBerry is to stabilize and return to their home site if possible. Sometimes that's not possible. DeBerry is also the home to the Central Pharmacy, as well as the 14-bed dialysis clinic. In addition, it also has an assisted living area, medical rehabilitation, health center, and emergency room at the facility. DeBerry also maintains a 12-bed secure ward at a Nashville area hospital for offenders requiring a higher level of care or specialty procedures. As in the free world, healthcare costs are consistently rising. The department is not immune to that pattern. The staffing, medication, medical devices, medical services all contribute to the state's need for increased spending. For reference, the national average for the community is seeing an average of 15% increase in pharmaceutical costs. The department does not receive federal funding to take care of inmate health needs. It requires state dollars that must be provided to provide those services. While those incarcerated individuals only make up a portion of our population, for our state, their needs are not unlike the general population. Statistics of individuals across the country, general population, indicate 5% of people consume the healthcare costs and needs. 50% of that 5% require the healthcare costs in a given year. That 5% can be broken down into 3 equal groups. The first being chronic conditions that are able to be stabilized. Second, chronic conditions that are higher acuity and cannot be stabilized and require more extensive treatment. And 3, those who suffer a one-time catastrophic health event, such as a severe stroke that could lead to paralysis. Our incarcerated population aligns similarly with that group dynamic. We've seen an increase in pharmacy utilization of 5.4% since 2023. Average increase of cost in that pharmacy spend has been up to 33.2%. 55.4% of TDOC inmates are enrolled in chronic clinic. That means that these patients have at least one diagnosis that requires monitoring or care for greater than 6 months. We've seen an increase in utilization of chronic clinic of 4.5% since 2023, and an increase in spend for pharmacy for chronic clinic of 8.55%. For additional details, you can look at slide 2. As mentioned, there are a variety of ailments that occur within the TDOC, including, but certainly not limited to, seizure disorders, hypertension, other cardiac ailments, asthma, COPD, tuberculosis, and diabetes. In addition, inmates suffer from the same diseases inside prison as they do outside, including things like cancer, for example. The department continues to update and implement standardized treatment plans and guidelines for management of those chronic conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, hepatitis C, and asthma based on published evidence-based standards. As slide 3 and 4 highlight, TDOC has a substantial population of inmates who are positive for hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is a communicable disease that often goes untreated. The CDC published a study that indicated from 2013 to 2021, there was an increase of just about 50% of Hep C diagnosis in the general population. And the incarcerated population sees about a 10-fold diagnosis rate than the general population. When left untreated, the impact on the body of Hep C can be severe, meaning there can be progressive liver damage or cirrhosis, or an increase in developing liver cancer. In total, almost 16% of our inmates are infected or reinfected with hepatitis C. This is consistent with the national average for incarcerated patients. This patient population, the incarcerated patient population, is at increased risk for substance use disorder, increased risk for undiagnosed chronic and acute illnesses, as well as increasing age that we've seen consistently. We've also seen an increase in the volume of patients being accepted into the TDOC. Treatment utilization for hepatitis C includes 12 weeks of treatment on average, depending on the medication. And on average, that 12 weeks can cost between $16,000 and $52,000. Moving on to our next slide, the department's behavioral health services goals are to reduce the effects of serious mental illnesses, maximize each offender's ability to participate in programs while maintaining a safe prison environment for offenders and staff, and help prepare offenders with mental health illness and/or substance use disorder return safely to their communities. The continuum of services is provided, including psychological assessment, case management, medication management, crisis intervention, and individual and group therapy. About 2/3 of inmates are diagnosed with disorders and have comorbidities, creating complex medical and mental health challenges. Currently, 56% of inmates are on the mental health caseload. 36% have managed medications for their mental health diagnosis. I am happy to report that although we've seen a utilization increase in 14.78%, mental health medication costs have seen a decrease since 2023. As you can see, not only from my testimony, but from the slides, healthcare for inmates is both costly and ever-changing, as are the pharmaceutical costs. Cost trends are simply higher than they were years ago. The department strives to improve the health status of its population, but we have no way of anticipating all of the healthcare needs that individuals have. Based on our statistics and our year-over-year trends, we do anticipate to see a greater need for healthcare costs. I would like to highlight that we have utilized services within the prisons to help decrease our ER sendouts, to help decrease hospital admissions, and to help increase utilization of telehealth consults year over year since 2023. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Senator Yeager, Chairman Yeager, you had a question?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to make a motion to approve the contract.
This is just a presentation on this.
I understand that,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, okay. Representative Dixon, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, quick question. You say that you have an aging population and it's grown over the last few years. My question is, I think that when we passed a law a couple sessions ago about the truth in sentencing, and it's going to, in effect, give people longer sentences. So how are we preparing to handle those costs of an aging population, knowing that it's going to happen? What are we doing now in that, so we're not caught in a quandary when that time comes?
You're recognized.
Representative Dixie, a lot of what the department attempts to do is diagnose ailments at an early time, because the earlier treatment is provided and cared for, the longer and less likely you are to need healthcare when you become older. And so by investing early when people come into the department's care, if they are going to be there for a long time, that's exactly how we plan to do it. We're also using robust measurements to anticipate what our population will be in the long run and take those things into consideration.
Yeah, I understand that, but I say you want to do preventative things to kind of help, but I'm assuming in that population, like, as opposed to now, there's just men in general. I'm just going to talk about the men population. We don't necessarily go to the doctor all the time, or we wait until it's the last second to do something. And also in that population, I'm sure like they don't go get wellness checkups. So how would you possibly be able, unless someone comes in with an ailment, how would you know if they wouldn't develop it over time? Like diabetes or hypertension?
Well, and I'm afraid I must agree. That's exactly my point to a certain extent, is that a lot of inmates who come into our care have been neglecting their healthcare needs. And by a robust review process when they come into TDOC custody, we do attempt to identify any of those underlying ailments and to continue to maintain that while the individual remains in our custody. I think AC Bresnahan would like to add something to that, if that's okay.
I would just like to add, so when they come into the prison system, they have a robust evaluation and screening, and they have annual reviews as well. So they won't go the 15 years with a chronic state that they didn't get evaluated. They'll have the opportunity to have those issues addressed annually. And then the telehealth services that I had mentioned earlier that we've increased utilization of, I think the option to be able to provide specialty care within the walls and not have to rely on transfer out to specialty facilities is also helping manage more chronic disease states consistently.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Wonderful presentation, but you really didn't. Okay. Senator Yarborough, go ahead.
Thank you. And you may have touched on this, but so, I mean, this is a huge number. I didn't realize it was quite as high. I mean, you're one of the largest mental health providers in the state at the end of the day. Of the, I guess, 60% with diagnoses, or, at 50% that have severe or persistent diagnoses, how many are coming in with diagnoses versus being diagnosed in our system? And I guess sort of similarly, how many are coming in with course of care in, sort of at least formulated in some way versus being created? And is there, I mean, how do you sort of transition if there is care when it's available?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Thank you. I don't have specific metrics for you for this presentation, but I can tell you that most of the patient population coming in does not have those diagnoses in place. They are diagnosed when they come in and receive the health care that they so desperately need.
And I mean, just knowing what we know about sort of TennCare and comorbidity of mental health and physical health, I mean, are there gains to be made just in terms of longer term savings by having like a more aggressive approach on some of the mental health side of things?
I think there can always be a benefit to adding more mental health programming. And I don't, again, have that at the table with me today, but I can certainly get you data to support the increased programming and how that affects utilization of behavioral health services and pharmacy.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. As I said a while ago, wonderful presentation, but you really didn't address the questions that I'd asked y'all to address. So let me try to review those concerns that I had. And these were kind of brought about by the questions that Representative Bricking asked in the last month. But you had mentioned, we're talking about the National Clearing Group on pricing and thing are able to get better prices by being in this consortium. And then you mentioned a while ago that our costs have risen 15%. And you mentioned before that we have a bigger influx of prisoners with a higher needs. And I think you touched on that today. And it seems, I guess what's going through my mind is, and one of the questions I asked was for y'all to address is, are we unique in Tennessee that we have sicker prisoners coming in than the national average has? And if the national average is higher on sicker prisoners, that's my words, not yours, but is it worth being in that consortium if our needs aren't as great as theirs? And are we subsidizing other states by being in that consortium that may have higher medical, mental health, whatever healthcare concerns you may think of? Are we subsidizing other states by being in that instead of being on our own to do it? And is it a benefit to be there when we're having that? And the other thing is get right down to it. How much is Tennessee's cost versus the national average cost that you kept referring to? Where are we as far as our cost versus that national cost? And that goes back to the point. I don't particularly want Tennessee to subsidize other states' medical needs. So that was the main crux of the question. But during your presentation, or y'all's presentation, one thing came to my mind, and it's too bad Senator Watson's not here to remind me of this all the time, but Medicare. When do the prisoners kick into Medicare versus the state cost?
Chairman, as it relates to Medicare, inmates are prohibited from participating in Medicare unless they no longer reside in the prison. And so the only time that a inmate would be eligible for Medicare would be if they cease to reside in the prison.
Is it a state or a federal regulation?
That's a federal regulation,
Okay.
Chairman.
What about the cost of the other states versus our states? Are we subsidizing other states by being in that consortium?
I do not believe so, Chairman. I think Tennessee's prison population is consistent with that across the country. We can get exact data if we can obtain it. I don't know if, I'm happy to do a little additional research, and I apologize to the chairman for not realizing that that was the exact direction that you wanted this to be. So I apologize for not having that exactly right now.
Okay, if you could get that, I would really appreciate it, because that's the crux to what I was asking last month, and that came out of the questions by other members of this panel. So if you could find that out, I would deeply appreciate it. I'm through with my questions. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Yes, sir. Representative Shaw.
Thank you. Elementary question, but we are required to provide health care when we incarcerate people. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Is there some magic wand that we can wave to keep them from getting sick?
I would be delighted to find it, but I don't have it right now.
I think the point I'm making here is, we want to keep Tennessee safe. We want people to be away from society if they need be. But I think sometimes we forget wanting that, how much it costs us to do that. I don't know who controls drug prices, but I think you impressed me when you talked about, because I hadn't thought about it this way, people coming in maybe at 40 years old, by the time they reach 60, 65, they got some ailment that's got to be treated. And so we got to do that. So I'm not for sure we know how to control that. I guess the point I'm making here, and I'm just making a statement, we either got to decide we're going to do it and do it right, or do something totally different, because to incarcerate people costs a lot of money. That's why I think we need to make sure that when we incarcerate them, we are doing the right thing. I just want to make that comment.
All right, thank you for the presentation. We'll now get to item number 1, which is your contract, and our parliamentary position is this. We have a motion to approve from Senator Yeager. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of approving this contract, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2, General Services. If you'd come forward, followed by Health Facilities Commission. If you'd take your place at the other table, we appreciate it. And we will take up General Services.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you with us, Mr. Bryant. You're recognized.
So we're here today to present, asking for approval for a extended contract or a new contract with SSOE, who is the design engineer for the water and the wastewater treatment plant and the pipeline at the Mega Site Authority.
Okay. I believe that's in Representative Shaw's district. Have a motion? Have a second? Any questions? Chairman Gardenhire.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Howe. Is this only for the site that you mentioned?
Yes, sir.
No
It's
other-
just for
no
the Mega
other-
Site.
This consultant won't be involved in any of the wastewater type issues in the state, but just that one particular site?
Just what I have domain over. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item is approved. Thank you for coming. We are now on item number 3, health facilities. We'd like for health to come and take their place. And we're going to take up Health Facilities Commission. You're recognized.
Oh, Logan, we're so glad you're here. We've been missing you for a while.
Well, we're always willing to come by and talk to you all about contracts. Good morning. I'm Logan Grant, the Executive Director of the Health Facilities Commission. We were last before you in August when we were requesting a bridge contract to address the situation with our vendor DNS, who were performing or administering the applications and of the Certified Nurse Aid Registry, which is a federal program that we draw down federal dollars for. And what we were trying to do at the time was address a situation where the contract obligated folks who were going to be placed on the registry to pay a $25 application fee. We got this idea from a number of other states who do this, but after the Fiscal Review Committee hearing, we were notified by the Nursing Home Association, Tennessee Healthcare Association, that there is a federal prohibition against that. We reached out to CMS. They confirmed that the federal prohibition is in place and we will not be able to impose those type of application fees on applicants to the Nurse Aid Registry. So we decided to pivot, and John can explain how we're going to utilize a couple of different methods to get there.
You're
Yes.
recognized.
Thank you. John Carr, Director of Administration for Health Facilities Commission. So as Logan Grant said, we had to pivot our plan. Ultimately, what we've worked out with CPO and discussions with Comptroller is we're still wanting approval for up to a 1-year contract to pay the vendor, because they ultimately did bid on this with the intent that they were going to charge fees to the applicant. So in good faith, this contract would pay for those fees that we cannot pass on to the applicant now. And then we are also going forward with an RFP to correct the situation going forward, to combine both the short-term contract that we're asking for approval for, as well as the current long-term contract, into one consolidated contract moving forward. We've also addressed the funding implications with TennCare, who pays for the contract. They pay 50% federal funds and 50% state funds to us. And TennCare has confirmed that even with the situation with the federal government, that should not impact their ability to draw the federal funds.
Have a motion. Have a second. Any questions for the presenter? Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad this flushed out some issues dealing with the CNAs. I guess I'm looking forward to a summary going forward. If a CNA in our state wants to apply or get licensed, if I understand going forward, they really don't even a half. It shouldn't cost them anything. Do I understand that to be correct?
You recognize?
Yes, sir. There will not be any fees imposed on them. That is part of the federal requirement, because they want there to be as little barrier to entry into this job market as possible.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to get that clarified. Thanks.
Any other questions? Representative Dixie.
Hi, I just wanted to be sure. Did you say that 100% of this will be paid by TennCare and there'll be no federal funds that will be accessed for this?
No, sir. It will be paid by TennCare, and the federal funds are intact with the situation with the federal government right now. We just wanted to clarify that we have confirmed that that's not going to be impacted.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And that's, the funds are intact through the end of the year or even for 2026?
As I understand it from TennCare, it's part of the entitlement, so that it's continuing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Did we get a motion? I believe we got a motion. I believe we did. Okay. All opposed, nay. I heard no nays. Contract is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving on to contract number 4, health, then we'll ask mental health to come forward. And health is already in place. Welcome. You're recognized.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Grayson Carter. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Health. Today, the department is seeking approval to amend the current contract with Inductive Health Informatics by exercising renewal option, adding funds for the renewal, and adding required ADA language.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you for coming. We are now moving on to mental health. We'll ask Human Services to come forward. Mental health, you are recognized.
Good morning, Chairman and
Good
committee
morning.
members. My name is Angela Jackson. I'm the Assistant Director of Legislation and Rules with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. With me today, I have Heather Gunderson. She is the department's Chief of Staff and the Deputy Commissioner for Administrative and Regulatory Services. In addition, I also have Brian Wilson. He is the Executive Director of Capital Projects with the Department of General Services. This.
I know there'll be questions, but I would motion this approval after questions.
We have a motion and I'll entertain a second, then we can ask questions. We have a second. Okay. Continue, please.
This is an amendment to the sole source contract for a maximum of 12 months. So under operating under our department, Western Mental Health Institute is an 150-bed psychiatric treatment facility in Bolivar, Tennessee. In early 2024, the existing chillers at Western Mental Health Issues started experiencing some pretty serious issues, which dictated the need to replace the aged out chillers. So in July of 2024, under a 6-month emergency purchase request, Western Mental Health Institute was allowed to rent a temporary chiller in the event that the existing chillers stopped working, which would put the cooling of the hospital in jeopardy. So for the emergency purchase request, the department contacted 3 vendors, and Easy US Holdco LLC was the only vendor that could provide the 400-ton chiller. The other 2 vendors were uncertain as to when they could secure it and deliver it due to a high demand for that specific size chiller. Additionally, the monthly rental fee for Easy US Holdco was the lowest price among the vendors. On December 3rd of last year, Western Mental Health and Easy US Holdco entered into a 1-year sole source contract for the continued rental of the temporary chiller. This allowed collaboration with Stream to identify funding options for the purchase of the new chillers. At that time, Western and Stream began working with CMT Energy Solutions to determine if the replacement of the chillers could be accomplished using money from the ESCO Energy Savings Program. This determination requires CMTA to perform an energy analysis at Western Mental Health Institute. And if the use of the Energy Savings Program fund is approved, it would result in significant savings for the state.
Members, you've heard the explanation. We have questions, I'm sure. Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this contract certainly caught my attention, and I'm going to, if I can have a liberty to probably ask several questions. And certainly, and it's not the Department of Mental Health that I'm really critical of here, but it revealed to me a flaw, what I call in the purchasing system, because y'all are going to burn almost $500,000 of your operating dollars waiting to get a piece of equipment in place at that facility. And that should not happen. And so, and I talked to Brian yesterday on this issue. I mean, between GSC and FNA, and I don't know what other department, it revealed to me a problem, protocol or whatever, that shouldn't exist. And it kind of revealed to me when a piece of equipment of this size, and I'm not sure how many 400-ton chillers we have out there across the state, a couple of things, and I'm going to jump around here a little bit. First of all, I'm a little surprised we got a sole source contract, because there's at least a half a dozen national HVAC vendors out there that provide 400-ton chillers. And I talked to my friend in the train industry yesterday on this thing, and of course he said, yeah, we sell 400-ton chillers and we rent 400-ton chillers. And I asked him, well, all right, what does he generally rent a 400-ton chillers? He said about $250,000 a year. And this contract was $500,000 for a 400-ton chiller. And it only costs between $400 to $500,000 to buy a 400-ton chiller. And as Brian says, that should have an average life of 25 to 40 years. So here, we're paying this contract. It's going to be over $850,000. We could have bought 2 400-ton chillers that could last the state 25 to 40 years, and we burned that money up in a year and a half. Things like that just should not, in my mind, happen. And so it's kind of the protocol of, you said an emergency appropriation to get a sole source to get the rental in. Somehow this should have been expedited. I mean, July of 24, if we had problems with that electrical system at that facility, we should have the resources to identify electrical problems quickly at a facility, get them fixed, get a new unit in without dragging this thing out. Already 16 months, they're going on 24. That's just wasting taxpayers' money. If this is systematic of what kind of goes on in the bureaucracy between, I understand Brian said FNA wouldn't approve something to get an emergency purchase. So, again, he looked at where his funding was coming from, and he said, well, he's got to wait till y'all have it budgeted in y'all's department, or he can use it under this, quote, streamed energy savings. And I don't understand all the details of that. But somehow, the leadership in the departments from FNA, General Services, Mental Health, somebody should have been able to get together and figure this out rather than wasting what I call, we should not sneeze at $500,000, in my mind, total waste of money. That's a lot of statements there. I don't know if it's fiscal review or someone to look at this and say, is there something fundamental in our protocol here at the state? So I don't know how many 400-ton chillers we have out there. We should have, we have state contracts for vehicles with multiple companies and around. We should have either state contracts for HVAC replacement, repair, something, so we don't get into this situation. And if it's an emergency, we certainly should be able to expedite it and get it done faster. So again, I don't know. I would like someone, whether it's fiscal review, whether it's CPO, or someone to come back to this committee and say, look at this situation and say, is there some procedural protocol that we should be doing better so this doesn't happen?
Thank you, Representative Bricken. Is that a formal request that you would like to make and have the committee vote on?
Yes, but I'm not sure that this review, if we can run with that kind of request. I'm not sure who to request it. Okay.
The director agreed? We'll work it out. So we don't need to vote on it. They'll work it out. Any other questions? Seeing none, you're recognized.
Going back, what were the 2 other sole source vendors that, and why was it mental health and not GSE in identifying the original sole source vendor? I looked at this company. It's a subsidiary. It just, they're going to make a killing off of us. But who kind of identified and put out the bid for that original sole source?
Thank you for the question and the comments. We've had a conversation. I understand where you're coming from. As far as the other two, I don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure if Heather can speak to that. Can certainly follow up with you on the other two vendors. I just know at the time, they were the only one that said that they could secure that chiller and deliver it to us immediately.
Well, and then maybe
Representative.
Brian at GSC, did you originally, I would have thought this would have been under y'all's domain at the get-go to identify other vendors and get them fixed up at the least cost.
Right.
You're
So
recognized.
the Department of General Services, specifically our group, Capital Projects within Stream, we are responsible for the capital improvement or capital maintenance. The operational maintenance of the facility is actually mental health. So they are responsible for operating and maintaining the facility and all of their equipment. And so when they have a replacement or a major maintenance, that's when they would call us and we would get engaged at that point. However, as you mentioned, we would need the funding in order to bring one of those capital projects forward. And so when the request was made for additional funding for that, the answer was we needed to request that through the agency's capital appropriation process. And then at the same time, we were looking at alternative ways we could fund that. And the Energy Savings Program was one of them. We actually have a phase 2 project that we also looked at the same facility for an expansion that we possibly could have run the cost through because that project was funded as well. And so, but it's kind of this, the agency maintains the equipment, and as soon as there's an issue, they reach out to us, and we're looking to either replace it or do a major maintenance of that. But the funding is the key at the end of the day.
Follow up? Any other questions for the presenters? We have a motion. We have a second. Any further questions on this contract? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Please see the clerk to record your nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you. Moving on to Human Services, and we'll ask the Secretary of State to come forward. And Ms. Callen, you're recognized. Oh, it's not Ms. Callen this time.
Good
Ms.
morning,
Page.
Chairman Howell and committee members. My name is Paige Foster, Legislative Liaison at Department of Human Services. I'm joined today by Callan Baggett, our Assistant Commissioner for Public Information and Legislative Office, as well as Laura Hartsfield, our Senior Contracts Attorney. Item number 6 is an amendment with Alliance Enterprises, who provides a web-based management service for our vocational rehabilitation clients. This amendment seeks to amend our contract with an extension of 6 months and increase the maximum liability to cover that extension. We are currently working with Alliance Enterprises, CPO, STS, and the comptroller to find a multi-year contract that we will bring before you, but the extension ensures that there is no lapse in service while we do so. Additionally, Section C3 is amended to show the additional quarterly payments. With that, we are happy to answer any questions.
You've heard the presentation, members. Any questions? We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you. Are you in the process of negotiating a more permanent contract with this vendor?
Yes, sir.
And so we've got a temporary contract to provide services while we're negotiating for a permanent contract. And we've had that temporary contract in place for 6 months, and we're doing another 6 months?
No, sir. We had this contract originally, and this is the second extension we've had as we work with them to negotiate that multi-year contract.
I guess I'm just having trouble understanding how was this a RFP they responded to? Where's it's an unusual thing for someone to be awarded a contract and then be in a situation where it takes us more than 6 months for them to agree to take our money. And so, I want to make sure that we're not just doing something that basically adds, we're just adding a new year to the new contract effectively.
Yes, sir. Laura, do you want to?
You're recognized.
You're on.
I'm on. Okay. Yes, we have been working with them for close to a year on figuring out their specific STS and COT with the audit information that we are working through to get approval of based on the negotiations that we've been having with this vendor. In addition, we were pretty close. And then they had a new master agreement that they reworked, which was a new 30-page document that is an attachment to that. And so we have been trying to work through that as quickly as possible and negotiate those last pieces with them.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. We're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. If you are a no, please see the clerk to be recorded. And we're going to move on to item number 7. You're recognized again.
Paige Foster, DHS, and Callan Baggett, as well as Laura Hartsfield. Item number 7 is an amendment to our existing contract with Evident Change, who provides a strategic decision tool for our Adult Protective Services unit. This amendment reflects the 12-term extension that was put in place in January of this year and seeks to increase the maximum liability to cover the final subscription cost. Additionally, the amendment updates 5 provisions due to a CPO template change. With that, we're happy to answer any questions.
You've heard the presentation. Any questions? Do I have a motion? Have a motion? Have a second? Did I hear a second? Have a second. Any questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. You're approved. Thank you so much. We are now going to turn to the Secretary of State and ask Education to come forward and be on deck. And Secretary of State, item number 8, you're recognized.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. My name's Jamie Ritter. I'm the State Librarian and Archivist. This is regarding the Coughlin Companies contract. We're looking to exercise the first of 2 one-year renewal options with this company and add the animals module versus his social studies module. This, through feedback and talking with educators, animals is more familiar module to introduce research to younger students in grades K through 3.
Have a motion? Have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Moving on to item number 9. You're recognized. It's on. Your mic is on.
Good morning, Chairman. Janet Kleinfelter. I'm the Director of Business and Charitable Organizations with the Secretary of State's Office. With me is John Moravec, who is the Director of our Information Technologies Division. We're here requesting approval of the renewal of our contract with Dorger Architect. Dorger is the vendor that, through a competitive bid process back in 2020, was awarded the contract to develop and build our new online filing system for business organizations and charitable organizations. We would like to renew the contract. It's a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options to extend. This allows us to continue with developing certain upgrades that our customers have requested in the system. It also allows for maintenance of the system during that time period at the same monthly rate that we are currently paying. And it also extends the warranty that Dorger is providing on the system during the time period.
We have a motion. Have a second. Any questions?
I have one question.
Chairman Gardner.
It's Yarborough.
Oh, Senator Yarborough, sorry.
Thank you. What's the, I mean, aside from the fact that we've chosen them in a sole source contract previously, like what's the basis for the sole source contract here?
Excuse me, they're the ones who've actually built the system and have the familiarity with the system. It would be inefficient. Well, there's not another vendor out there that would have the familiarity with the system to be able to do the upgrades that we're looking to do. We are in the process of getting our IT staff to the point where hopefully at the end of this renewed contract, if it's approved, that at that point they can take over the maintenance and any future upgrades that we're looking for in the system. But we don't currently have that capability.
Okay, I guess my sort of challenge here is just that, you know, when we take on something, this is what makes me nervous about sole source contracts generally, especially in an area like, you know, like I can't imagine, I have trouble envisioning like why this company would be the only company that could do this type of work. But when we enter into these contracts that then have like sort of runways where we're stuck with the same vendor because they know our system and the service, like we're not really pricing that in when we're making the original decision in here. And I mean, I appreciate, but you do think that like we at the conclusion of this contract, you envision that the department will own this and will be able to, use this vendor or another vendor or its own internal people to maintain the software.
Yes, we fully anticipate that at the end of this renewed contract that we'll be in a position of being able to maintain the system on our own. At the moment, there's not an off-the-shelf product that we can just go purchase because the system has to be tailored towards our individual statutory requirements for all of the different business entities and for our charitable registrations. That's why we have to go with a particular vendor. This vendor is the one that has built the system, knows the system because it incorporates not just business filings, but the other types of filings that our office provides, such as the service of summonses, trademarks, apostilles, notaries, UCC filings. All of that is so complicated that to try and bring another vendor in at this point, it just would be inefficient.
Understood.
But our IT staff has been working with them step by step along the way and is working very closely, staffing up, building up to get the expertise to be able to take over the system when the contract expires.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you for coming. Moving on now to education, and following education, agriculture has been pulled from the agenda at the request of the department. So we'll ask TWRA to come forward, take their place on deck. So we will go now to item number 10 in education. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members. My name is Anna Hall, and I'm the Legislative Liaison for the Department of Education. With me today, I have Dr. David Laird, our Assistant Commissioner of Assessment, Accountability, and Research. The department is requesting an amendment to its contract with Cambium Assessment by increasing the maximum liability by $5,393,685.10. The contract with Cambium Assessment is for the provision of English learner proficiency assessments, and the amendment is needed to account for an increased demand for these assessments. The department entered into the contract with Cambium Assessment for both the screener and summative assessments in July 2024 following a competitive procurement. The department has revised its projections for procurement of the needed number of assessments based on the new data received from the screener and population trends. And the increased maximum liability will account for those new projections. We are happy to answer any questions you have.
You heard the explanation. Questions, Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one question and then maybe a statement. The question, was there another screener contract before this one that we had in place or not?
You recognize?
Yes, sir. We did have a previous screener contract.
And I guess I'm trying to get a history of for the state in addressing the English language, deficiency or correlation, maybe the growth in the immigration population in the state. Was there a period of time 10 years ago when we did not even have an assessment issue?
Dr. Laird, do you know the answer to that question?
You recognize.
So the process of assessing the English language development of our English language learner population has been a federal requirement for more than 10 years. So we've had something that has served in this capacity for quite a while.
Okay. And it's maybe a side, because I know it's a lot that goes into this as far as the amount of resources that the state spends in assessing the English skills of our students, but not even considering the cost of educating that. So somewhere over time, somebody I'm sure hopefully can show how much the state's resources are going in this direction. The only comment, and the screening component of this contract, I found it interesting that the local LEAs used to do the screening assessment for English language. And now, and I understand because maybe the need to combine the screening with the summary, whatever the summative assessment, whatever that particularly means. But I guess I'm saying for all our fellow legislators a little bit, we're taking several $1 million of a cost that was being borne by our local LEAs and putting it on the state's dime. And I think we should somehow get credit for it. And I don't know if there's something that we could put out to the local LEAs that says the state's now picking up the screening cost and we don't say we don't do things for your local LEAs. That's kind of
Thank you. You want to respond? Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator, I'm sorry.
I guess sort of following up on this, the old, I mean, at some level, there were a lot of district level contracts that provided some estimate to this. Is that correct or no?
So we did have, and Dr. Laird can speak more to it, we did have a statewide contract prior to this. The previous contract did not report any screener data to us, and they did not collect that screener data. They simply provided the assessment tool, the screener, to the districts, who then printed it out, administered it, and scored it on their own, rather than that being in a central repository. Dr. Laird, anything to add there?
You're recognized.
No, I think that's accurate. So there wasn't a district level contract for this work, but they had access to all the materials that were provided by the department, and they completed the printing, administration, and scoring locally.
Okay. Well, I guess in conjunction with that, then I do think that there were separate contracts that might have been used to manage ELL education, like in line with those assessments, and it was a much more limited state product that was being offered, I think would be fair to say. And I guess my concern here is that I've at least heard concerns that this sort of offering, doesn't provide sort of the full integration with teaching and learning resources throughout the year, with parental communication, with other things that sort of necessarily arise in working with this population. And I'm just trying to get a clearer sense of is the department hearing concerns like that from districts? Is it weighing them? How do you think about it in this context?
So the department is pleased in a number of ways with this screening solution compared to where we were previously. And just for a little brief bit of context, the screening assessment is essentially triggered whenever a child enrolls in a district, in a public school in Tennessee, and identifies as part of that enrollment process that they speak a language other than English in the home. And that's always a standard question we ask all students. If that occurs, that child's English language development is then assessed to determine whether or not it's possible to just put that child in a public school and have them access the curriculum appropriately. So it provides an initial determination as to whether or not this child is going to need additional support services to participate proactively in a public school. And so the solution that we're employing now with the centralized administration provides a much higher level of fidelity for that assessment. And it provides much better score reporting back to the schools so that they can communicate to the parents about why this child may have been or not been identified as an English language learner. And it's important to recognize that screening assessment can identify students to not receive services as well if they can identify, or rather demonstrate, a high level of English language proficiency.
Follow up?
Well, and I understand that it has significantly greater features than sort of what the state version of what it replaced. But under the former model, there was a relatively light state contract, and then oftentimes pretty different local contracts that may have been that were aligned to manage the actual instruction and teaching aspects of this. And so, but the sort of provision of this kind of displaces those, and to a certain extent. I'm just trying to get a sense of that.
So, and I apologize if I'm not answering your question directly. I'm happy to continue to try to work on it. The support for these students is a very different scope of work, right? Particularly the screening portion of this assessment is purely intended to help schools have good information about which students have enough English language proficiency to access curriculum and instruction and move forward, and identify which of those need more support. It is certainly true for those students that are identified as needing more support. There is a whole host of resources and supports that will then follow that child that exist entirely independent of this contract.
Yeah, okay. I'll follow up later. I guess my concern is just by providing a higher minimum at the state level, we've ended up reducing what the maximum level is offered on the ground for actual teachers. Yeah. And I just think that's a concern that I have with this contract.
Understood.
Thank you. Any other questions? Chair needs a motion and a second. Have a motion? Have a second. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of the contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. And now we're moving on to item number 11. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, my name is Anna Hall, and I'm the Legislative Liaison for the department. I'm joined again by Dr. David Laird, our Assistant Commissioner of Assessment, Accountability, and Research. The department is requesting an amendment to its contract with NCS Pearson to increase the maximum liability of the contract by $3,200,431.40. The contract with NCS Pearson is for the administration of the Tennessee Comprehensive Assessment Program, our TCAP program, and its related services. The department entered into this contract with Pearson in July following a competitive procurement. The amendment will expand the scope of the contract to better facilitate Tennessee teacher participation in our statewide assessment committees and to add a line item for the provision of a Lexile license that was omitted from the original contract. The Lexile license provides critical information to families about their students' reading level and provides a portable number for families to use to identify books appropriate for a student's reading level. It's been included for several years, and we had a licensing agreement outside of our larger Pearson contract previously, and so it was just omitted from the line item listing in this contract. We're happy to answer any questions that you all have.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions on this contract? Representative Bricken.
Yeah, I mean, this, the Lexile omission, I know y'all have acknowledged that it was an omission, but I guess just for clarity purposes, in the bidding process between CPO and y'all, and it's such a large component, it's hard to understand how that large piece got omitted. And
you recognize.
So the reality is that the department, I clearly made a mistake in the production of the contract, not as an excuse, but to simply explain what occurred. The Lexile piece was not actually part of the original previous contract when it was drafted. The Lexile was added as an amendment to the last contract by my predecessor in the role. And so when we put this contract together, the starting point for the development was essentially we edited the original version of the contract, which did not include that amendment. And that's simply why we missed it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you so much. Item 12, as I said, has been pulled, and Mr. Grimes is on deck for TWRA, and we will ask TennCare to come forward again. Mr. Grimes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Torrey Grimes, General Counsel, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. And before you today, we have a request for a sole source contract with Beacon Technologies, Inc. The contract would be a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals with a maximum liability of $500,000. The expectation is this is an as-needed contract, and it is outside of the statewide contract for this service because TWRA, being a non-STS entity, our IT division does day-to-day maintenance. So this does represent a cost savings for the state, and it's, of course, borne by the agency. And what the company does is they provide the infrastructure items for our regional buildings and the secure lockups, as well as the security cameras that we have.
You have a motion and a second. Any questions for the presenter? Do you want to ask it now or after the vote?
I'll ask after the vote.
Okay. All in favor of this contract, say aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Vote is approved. And Senator Sutherland, you're recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Grimes, I know during bad weather, TWRA is out helping TDOT clear roads and then using their four-wheel vehicles to go rescue people. Can you tell me how much they're reimbursed by TDOT or Department of Safety for doing these extra work?
You know, the TWRA's folks, a lot of times we have equipment to do the works in the woods and waters across the state, and that includes those recovery situations, those rescue missions on the state's waters. You know, unfortunately, the boating deaths in Tennessee have been tremendously high this year. I know we've had two, over the last couple of weeks. And that's the expertise that our folks bring to the table. They have the equipment in order to do those things. Now, well, they are, all the activities of TWRA are paid by the state's wildlife fund, and that is those dollars that are from the purchasing of a license to hunt or fish by the state sportsman, and what federal match that can be obtained for those purposes.
Okay. So like clearing roads and I know they're out using their chainsaws, clearing roads, going in up to roads, rescuing people. So those funds are being, you're not getting any reimbursement, TDOT or anyone. And so those funds are being paid by hunters and fishermen.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimes. Your contract is approved, and we will move now to item number 17. We've already approved 14, 15, and 16. And Mr. Seal, you're recognized.
Good morning again. My name is Zane Sills, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Financial Officer for the Division of TennCare. This next contract we have before you is a competitively procured contract with the Volunteer State Health Plan, or Blue Care. We call this TennCare Select. This is similar to our other MCO contracts I talked about before. It's separate because it's on a different procurement cycle. So all we're requesting to do is make some language adjustments. There's no need for a term extension or increase in maximum liability.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. Moving to number 18.
Next contract we have before you is a request for a competitively procured contract with Optum RX. In this amendment, we're requesting to do a term modification that's a little unique. I'll explain that in just a second, and increase the maximum liability. Optum RX is our pharmacy benefit administrator. So basically they register credential pharmacists and pay and adjudicate pharmacy claims. We have one 12-month option year left in this contract. What we are requesting is 15 months, the option year plus 3 months. The reason for that is because of an important lesson we learned when we started this contract. This is a January through December contract cycle. What happens every single year is the federal government makes a lot of pharmacy changes we have to implement on January the 1st. We have learned that it is not a good idea to also implement a new pharmacy administrator on that same day. It's just too many changes all on the same day that could result in disruption to our members and our pharmacists. So we're just trying to move the cycle for this contract to April through March cycle. And so that's why we've asked for the extra 3 months besides the option year available to us. Maximum liability request is a little less than 21 million. State share is half that, a little less than 10.5 million.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting. All in favor of the contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Moving to number 19, Mr. Seals.
The next request we have for you is a sole source contract with the Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare, or CAQH. We're requesting to exercise the renewal option year and increase the maximum liability. CAQH helps us with the legal requirement. When any provider wants to register to serve TennCare patients, we have to validate certain data about that provider for program integrity purposes. This is a sole source because we
I have
have
a motion. Have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Moving on to the next one, item number 20, I believe.
Next contract we have before you is a sole source contract with Equifax, requesting to exercise an option year and increase the maximum liability.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? We're voting. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Number 21.
The next contract we have before you is a competitively procured contract with KeyPro. In this amendment, we're requesting to exercise a renewal option year, but we don't need an increase in maximum liability.
Have a motion, have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Those ayes were awfully weak, but there were enough. Moving on to the next contract, Mr. Seals.
Next contract we have before you is a competitively procured contract with KPMG. This amendment seeks to extend by 12 months and increase the maximum liability for that year. In this contract, KPMG provides technical advisory services and general consulting support for our Medicaid modernization program. Basically, when you hear me talk about our large IT updates and investments, KPMG provides wide-ranging consulting support across all of those initiatives. This committee is well aware that there are several contracts related to IT and enrollment processes that we delayed reprocuring because of the federal PHE. As soon as we went through the unwinding, we started reprocuring all of those contracts. Barring some unforeseen catastrophe, we believe this would be the last extension of this contract. The replacement process for competitively replacing this is well underway.
I have a motion. I need a second, and you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would like for Mr. Zeal to, for the record, to say that the IT consulting costs of the state for TennCare has peaked, and we'll see a downward trend in the future.
You recognize Mr. Seals.
Thank you for the question. And yeah, this is something we talked about earlier. So the peak of our IT costs was actually last year in state fiscal year 25. It's come down in state fiscal year 26. We project it to continue to decrease for each of the next 3 fiscal years until fiscal year 29, at which point we would expect to see it kind of plateau level off. So we are on the downslope of our IT spend.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we're voting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Moving on to the next one, Mr. Seal.
The next contract we're bringing before you is a competitively procured contract with Mercer. In this amendment, we're requesting to exercise an option year and increase the maximum liability for that option year. Mercer is our vendor that does all of our work related to setting pharmacy prices. So they collect data on average acquisition costs for the drugs. And then also we do a survey of our pharmacists to determine their actual costs for professional dispensing fees. And that's a key thing they'll be doing for us in this option year we've requested. The increase in maximum liability is about $447,000. State shares half that, about $223,000.
Have a motion. Have a second. Any questions? All in favor of this contract, please say aye. Actually, we have a question. Senator Yarborough.
Thank you. I just noted that it's a 1-year extension, but the additional dollars is around $450,000, which seems to be significantly more than the annual spend when the contract was started, like at a 2x rate. Just kind of trying to get a sense of that.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So the work that they do is maybe seasonal is not the right word. It varies from year to year. There's work that they do for us that will happen every year, and then there's projects that will happen, but we don't do those every single year. We'll do them occasionally. I think the biggest example that I can cite for you in this case is we're exercising a option What we do is every 3 years, we reset the professional dispensing fee for all our pharmacists. And so this is the third year, so we're adding that. So that's not a normal spend, or that's a spend we would see once every 3 years in this contract. And that basically they'll just go and do a survey of every single participating pharmacist in the state of Tennessee. And we collect their actual data, administrative data, overhead costs on what it costs them to actually dispense drugs. And then we'll update and rebase our professional dispensing fee that we pay them. So that's the main thing that I would cite that is additional that's not normally happening in a given year.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. And the one we're looking for, item 24, Mr. Seal.
Last contract I have before you today is a competitively procured contract with NTT Data. In this amendment, we're requesting to exercise an option year and increase the maximum liability for that option year.
Have a motion. We'll have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you for being here. I'll turn the gavel back now to Chairman Gardner.
Thank you, Chairman Howell. Just one item on the other agenda. We have our next meeting, December 10th. It'll be in House hearing room number 1 at 10 a.m. on that date. Any other questions or comments or anything at all? I see none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Let's go eat lunch. Thank you.